Hello and good morning, everyone. It's Michelle Maher here, and this morning I'm joined with Tammy Hudgin. Thank you so much, Tammy, for giving me your time to talk about what we've been dealing with the past few months and keeping a positive mindset while getting creative and pivoting in your life and business. So thank you, Tammy. If you want to just give us a few words about who you are and what you are all about.
Awesome, thank you. So thank you for having me. For those that don't know me, I am Tammy Hudgin, and I'm kind of known as the Facebook Queen. So I'm kind of your go-to girl. If you have any questions about Facebook, you can just reach out. I've been using it for so long. I am a mom of two, a 23 and a 21-year-old, and I'm in the process of starting a new transition and moving to BC from Ontario. So I'm leaving in like less than 2 weeks. Oh my goodness. And yeah, my kids will be staying here. So this is something new for me. And leading up to that, I used to wear many hats. And so leading up to that, when I made the decision to semi-retire, I'm now just focusing on my social media business. Who knows what the future holds, but for now, that's my main focus. And I've, resigned from all the other elements that I like to do. So
All
that's me in
right.
a nutshell, I guess.
Okay, yes. And you also like photography as well, right?
Yeah, so that's something I've been learning the last couple of years. And I can't wait obviously for BC to enhance those photography skills. And I am a very, very, very fortunate person. My best friend just bought me a brand new camera.
Oh,
Um,
wow. Oh, nice.
as a going away present, something that I'll be honest, I wouldn't have been able to afford myself. I would have had to save up for it. So I'm pretty excited to be able to use my new camera.
Oh,
Sorry,
nice.
I got emotional
That's
on that because it was very unexpected. And yeah,
oh
so
yeah.
I'm going
Well,
to embrace photography in BC.
yes, and I'm sure you'll have lots to photograph there. That's for sure. That's
Yeah.
so beautiful. Um, so you're going to be, yeah, yeah. So it's it must be very exciting
It
to
is.
move on to this next chapter, and of course, leaving Ontario is obviously going to be sad in some respects, but of
Yeah.
course, this is where you've always wanted to go and live,
Yeah. And
and it's so
leaving
beautiful
Ontario,
there.
oh my, it's just outstanding, right? Leaving Ontario obviously is going to be very tough. This is where I've grown up. And the last 13 years I've been, focusing on networking and building. And I've met some amazing people over the last 13 years. And I have to admit, it's going to be hard not to see them in person, but I'm grateful for social media. It allows me to keep in touch with everyone and see what everyone's doing. So I'm thankful for social media at this time.
Right, and basically this is how we're operating now anyhow.
Yes,
This is everything. So it's kind of a good time to
it
be moving
is,
over there
right?
because we're all virtual and everything's online and everybody's connecting online. And again, we're so grateful for this technology that we have during this time, because if we didn't have this, and it was like 10 years ago,
Wow.
we would have been it would have been really difficult because everybody's embracing the technology. It doesn't matter how old you are. There's so many grandparents that are using the web conferencing to see their grandchildren. So
Yeah. And we kind of, we're at a point where we have to be on social media. Like we just have to, right? We have to be online. It's the only way that a lot of people are going to be able to communicate. So whether it's for personal or business use, it doesn't matter. And you think about like the next 2 years, we're in this situation for the next 2 years. That's kind of the reality. So I think it's important that people embrace the online world, figure it out. There's tons of free training on YouTube that can teach you what you need to know to be able to do video calls or just right down to sending messages. Because I know the older generation doesn't understand social media or technology. So some of them struggle with not even knowing how to send a message, right? So take advantage of YouTube and start teaching yourself what you need to know from an online standpoint. It's going to be huge. And now we're only going to get bigger. This is, I'll be honest with you, I've been saying this for years, how big technology is going to get, obviously. However, I didn't expect it to happen already. I didn't think that, I figured at least another 10 years before we really saw us all go into an online world almost completely. And now I see that happening, obviously, a lot sooner than what we expected. So I think we have to be prepared for that.
Yeah, I don't think you're alone in that. I think there's so many people who didn't expect such a thing. And when you go back to being on social media and having a presence online, there's also a lot of businesses and entrepreneurs that still were not online. And a lot of the brick and mortar stores have taken this time to realize that they should have a website and they should have an e-commerce platform, and they've set it up. During the, I think it's really accelerated a lot of people's, adapting technology, learning technology, and embracing it, because some people were really hesitant to do so.
And I think too that because we're already overwhelmed with so much that's going on, I think it's important to stress that you don't need to learn all of social media platforms. Just focus on one, whichever one you're most comfortable with. And I'm gonna say, based on our generation, our age group, Facebook's probably the number one platform for us. So really just focus on understanding that platform, both personal and business, and just master it, right? Learn all the things that you need to learn to be able to do what you need to do, and then you can move on to another social media platform, because otherwise you're just going to get overwhelmed, and we have enough overwhelm right now, right? Every single day when we wake up, we have no idea what's in store for us right now. So overwhelm is hitting us as soon as we open our eyes. So you need to figure out ways to take some of that overwhelm away. And social technology itself can be very overwhelming, especially for the older generation. I mean, for me, I think we're about the same age. So I'm 52, and I was 24 when computers were introduced to the world. And so fortunate at that time, I was in a job where I had to use a computer. So I've been using computers for that long, but I know that most of my generation wasn't exposed enough to it. And so they panic, they don't quite understand. And it can just totally mess up, and you go, you know what? I can't do this. And we just walk away. But the reality is you can't walk away anymore. You just can't. You can't use that anymore. You have to learn it. Right?
Right. Yeah, definitely you do. And it's so easy to get overwhelmed as well. Over the last few months, there's so many people coming online offering free webinars and free services, and in every avenue that you might want to learn. So I myself even got overwhelmed. I probably back in April, because I had signed up for so many things, just because there were so many things that interested me, and I'm really focused on a lot of personal development. And then I realized, like, I can't, this is too much, because I'll just be on webinars and Zoom calls all day, and then how am I ever going to absorb anything that I've learned or practice and actually use it? Because the only way you really learn is to take it in and then actually put it into practice and do something with it.
Absolutely.
As
right.
opposed to just taking it in, taking notes. Until you actually get hands-on, you don't really learn. So
well, and we know that it takes 21 consecutive days to create a habit, right? So when you are learning something, you need to figure out how to implement it for 21 days to get yourself into that habit. And then it becomes second nature to you, that you don't even have to think about it anymore. Right. So, with the amount of learning out there, I applaud all the business owners and entrepreneurs that gave us all this additional information. But I agree, it was to a point where it was so much that then people just kind of walked away from it because they were too overwhelmed, and not because I think we were all lost in not knowing what we needed, right? So we kind of just grasped at whatever was being presented to us without really understanding whether we needed it or not. So I think we have to kind of bring ourselves back around and go, okay, so now that I know what we've gone through and I have an idea of the future, what is my main focus? What do I really need to learn? And just focus on learning that element. Don't expand into anything else until you master that, and then move on to the next learning element, right? So if you're, wanting to learn how to market, then focus on any free learning around that. Don't mix it with how to do videos, right? Keep it separate, master it, then move on to the next one. Because like you said, you know what, you can do 5 different trainings in one day, but you're not going to absorb enough to even accomplish anything, right? You're just gonna,
Right.
it's just too much information, and then you're not really sure, and then you go, you know what, I don't know what I'm doing. And that's exactly what happens, because none of it makes sense because there's too much of it, right?
Yeah, again, it's overwhelm, and then that you're not going to go anywhere with that, because you've just, it's like, being all over the place, and
Yeah,
you really have to get focused. So looking at what we're going through, and having to slow down and all the external distractions taken away from us, gave us the time to sit back and actually be with ourselves, and get back to figuring out what your values are, because that really is a way to start lay the foundation going forward.
absolutely. And I think that was huge. Going through this journey myself, I saw a lot of negativity coming into my news feeds.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, I got caught up in it in the sense of reading it, right? But then I would finish, I'd read newspaper articles and then get absorbed, or not, yeah, I guess absorbed in the comments. And it was really interesting because I started to notice that I was starting to develop this bad energy. I was kind of like, I'd get so immersed in reading it, and I wasn't realizing what it was doing internally to me. So I didn't want to live that way. I wanted to figure out how COVID was going to be a benefit as opposed to a negative, right? So I started cleaning out my news feed. I started unfollowing certain individuals so that I didn't see the negativity. I actually stopped following any of the news outlets. I decided I don't need to.
Right.
Whatever I do really need to know, I can research it later,
You can find it. Yep.
right? And I'm trying to keep more of the positive stuff into my feed, because everybody knows when we read something negative, we instantly internally respond to that, right? And the same applies to positive. So instead of feeling, why not feel happy? So just changing up those little things of changing your news feed so you're getting more positive stuff in there, will make just a huge difference on how we move forward functioning, right? So to me, that was what was important. It was looking at it and going, okay, you know what? How do I move forward to eliminate the negativity? How do I make this a positive? What is good about what's happened? And for me, I was very fortunate because I'm in the online world. Naturally, May was like my biggest month ever with extra clients wanting to get online. So doing websites and ads and getting business pages up and running. It was a big month for that, as people started to realize. So for me, that was a huge positive. And then, it was a couple little things, with this whole knowing I'm moving to BC. It was very difficult to figure out how to support local businesses because I didn't want to be purchasing any product or services with me in this process of moving. So, I decided to do some pay it forwards with the extra money that I had made in May. So, I reached out actually 5 different small business owners privately, and offered some donations and had them pay it forward for me on my behalf, so that I could contribute. And that made me feel really good, because I knew that small business and entrepreneurs were really struggling. So, trying to keep businesses open, and then of course ones that had to completely shut down, and now all of a sudden, trying to figure out where to pivot, right? What are we going to do next to accommodate this? So I felt like, how can I give back to the communities of these people that I've been networking with and so forth? And it made me feel really good, to be able to contribute that way. So that was another positive that I took. It also, and I think this is really important too. I think we all need to just take a step back and really look at ourselves. Look at how we lived prior to COVID. Look at what changes you made because you didn't have a choice through COVID, and really reevaluate what's important. I learned that I don't need material things at all. I don't need it. It's not about having more stuff. making money so I can go buy that next pair of shoes. You know, when I actually had to start cleaning out, oh my God, I can't believe the stuff I had. I was like, really? So it was a rude awakening from that standpoint. And I said, you know, but that turned into a positive because now I'm moving forward going, I can afford to semi-retire. I'm 52 and I'm thinking that is something I never thought would be possible, right? Let's be honest, I'm an entrepreneur, so very difficult for us to have a vision of retiring at some point, right? Just knowing how much money we might need or whatever it is. And COVID made me realize that financially, we don't need a ton of money to live a truly good life. There is so much that surrounds us as for free. I mean, even Ontario, we have so many beautiful places that we can venture to and get out in nature and just really feel ourselves again, you know? So I think it's important that we understand what truly came out of COVID and turn it all into positives. Forget the negative. It's already gone. It's done. Financial, like even from a money standpoint, the reality is it's done, right? We all had to figure out how to move forward with less money. And I think if you really understand that, you'll see a different path for yourself in the future. You know, you'll start making some changes and right down to maybe you don't need to work those 60 hours a week anymore as an entrepreneur. How much do you really need to be happy, right? And focus on that.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And that's what it all comes down to. There's nothing we can do about the reality of the virus, of the shutdown, of the closures, all that, everything. There's nothing we can do, but we can choose how we see it and what we do about it ourselves.
Exactly.
And basically coming back to spending time with ourselves and looking at how we were living our lives, because I know most of us were just rushing around from place to place, always worried about the next place that you had to be, or being home by a certain time to then rush the kids off to practice or whatever event and things like that. And we never actually sat and lived in the present. Now we have, we've been given the gift that we can sit in the present with ourselves and actually look at those things. Like you say, we had no choice.
Yeah.
We have not been able to live with certain things because they were shut down, and that was it. And even coming down to food too,
oh,
even coming down to groceries and everything,
right? Like when we
figuring
truly
out,
realize what we need, I think, and it's because we've lived in a society that's dictated how we live our lives. We always have, right? Everybody else, that's how, from the day you're born to wherever you end up, the reality is society dictates life, right? Every step that we make, every choices we do. And we're so caught up in what society is dictating to us that we forgot about who we are as individuals.
right.
I've been through a huge personal transformation journey in the last 4 months. Huge. It's been phenomenal for me. And I truly have realized that I'm not letting society dictate how I live my life anymore. I don't care if people want to judge me for what choices I make. I'm very proud of who I am and how far I've come and what I've accomplished in my life. I have 2 amazing kids who are going to be absolutely great without mom being here, and they both support my decision. And that tells me that, I've done what I've needed to do to raise my kids to understand that at some point, you get to go and choose your own path. I have not dictated to my kids at all with what they need to do. They're the ones deciding their own lives. It's not up to me to decide. And I'm grateful that they support my decision to move to BC. And, there's been comments, absolutely, right? But that's just people judging me, and it's really not about me. It's their story. It's not my story. And I'm okay with that, right? Like I've reached that point. I used to care. Now I really don't care because it's not about me. It's something that's going on with them and they need to figure that out. Yeah, right? And
Exactly.
yeah, and so I've had this opportunity that was presented to myself. And then in the last 4 months, I made a personal goal of to really, I really wanted to understand me. Who is Tammy? Really inside, right? I wanted to understand, you know, because I've been getting into some of the spiritual stuff. So I wanted to understand what has brought me to where I am. What are my patterns that I keep repeating? What are things that have happened in my past? And so I did the, found out about my past lives and went through that. Of course, cutting my hair off was a huge transition. I used to always have short hair, so it wasn't that I was afraid how it was going to look from a shortness. I was more afraid of the color. But this was a big impact, and I don't know for anyone that is going to be watching us. I'm not really sure if they felt this or not, but I can tell you, I put probably about 20 pounds on through COVID, extra 20 pounds. My hair, the gray was growing out, and it was long, and it was just hanging. There was really nothing to it. And every time I looked in the mirror, I had to look away because I didn't like what I was seeing. And when I made the decision to cut my hair, I chose that reason because I said, look, I either embrace the gray now or I get back into continuing to color. And I thought, what's the worst thing that could happen? I can grow my hair again. And I cut it and I got this color that I'm like I even have there's no dye in here, right? But I even got like these darkness in there. And I ended up, when I looked in the mirror, I can honestly tell you, it was the first time I felt beautiful in a long time. A long time. COVID really made me look at myself and think that I wasn't beautiful anymore. And I'm not saying visually how I look. I'm talking about me as a whole. And I wasn't feeling it. I would look at it, I just didn't feel it. So all these little transitions I've been going through the spiritual side of things as well. And then cutting the hair off just kind of brought it all back together. And I have to say, I feel really good. I feel really good. And I think it's important that as women, that the reality is all of us went in panic mode when our gray hair started growing out, right? We really did, because we didn't want people to see us that way, because we see gray hair as feeling old instead of trying to embrace it. And with the extra weight, I can just imagine what thoughts have been going through women, especially women's heads. And I'm thinking there's no need to feel this way, because the reality is that just figure out what makes you happy. So, I know that the weight will come off as we get active again. That's going to happen naturally, and I'm okay with that. But overall, I think it's important that we find ourselves. We really have to take this opportunity and truly dig deep inside. Where do you want to be in 10 years? And how are you going to do it through an online world? You got to do it through online. We don't have a choice. What are the things that you can eliminate from your life that just doesn't meet what you need anymore to move forward? Take everything you learn and turn it into something that you just, now you're going out the door running, right? You're like, I'm excited again. I'm excited to see this next transition. We all have an opportunity to change. We truly do. This is the one time that you have been presented with an opportunity to change. So if it's something you don't like, do it now. Make the changes.
Right. Yeah. It's like a total new beginning in so many aspects, so many respects, right down to the entire, school system, healthcare system, corporate, corporate culture. Like, who would have ever, all these big, the whole downtown core in Toronto coming home to work from home. Even the people from CRA are working from home, like government office, everybody. And they did it, and they did it so quickly. And everybody had to do it, and they wouldn't have embraced that otherwise.
Well, exactly. If we hadn't gone through this, we'd still be just doing the same things and going into further debt. I mean, I know the country's in debt, don't get me wrong. I'm talking about personal, but we would have just continued along the same path without making those changes. And you really have that opportunity to relook at your entire life. I love the whole thing about the school systems, because now I think what's we're going to see happen is the curriculum's really going to change now. They have to, right?
It has to. It was archaic, really.
Exactly. Now it's forcing them to finally do it. Maybe they're finally going to listen, because it's been a battle parents have been fighting for years just to get the curriculum changed. to be more current, to be more, kids learning the things that they need to live in life, get some life skills in there, right? So it's pretty
Yeah.
exciting. I think it's pretty exciting.
It is, and even when just everything in general, if you think about it, it's always um, things just keep continuing because that's how it was always done, and it's easier to just keep going on and spinning the wheel the same way than to look at things and start changing. But
Well, as a
but
business
with
owner, sorry,
yeah,
go ahead.
but with everything closing like this and shutting down so quickly like this, so many things, there's no choice now. They have to look at it. They have to look at it, and they have to well, also so many, the whole corporate side of things, they're realizing that things can be done virtually. You can do meetings virtually. People can work from home and actually get work done. They don't have to be have someone looking over their shoulder. So they'll embrace things like, and then it also gives the employees a much better work-life balance, not having to
Right?
commute.
Absolutely.
Because it's not fun, especially in Toronto. If you have to get downtown,
Right?
it's stressful.
Absolutely. And I mean, the money that corporate companies are going to save on this, because as soon as you go to like flex hours and having people rotate, maybe coming in 1 day a week and the rest of the time working at home, all of a sudden you get, maybe you can, now hire them as contractors and as a corporation save some money that way. Who knows, right? But as an entrepreneur or a small business owner, the reality is that this is our opportunity, because what we've also seen out of this is the growth in supporting local small businesses, right? We've all come together to finally support our community, something that every community has been fighting for a very long time,
Right.
right? And saying, stop supporting the corporates, right? Stop supporting the Walmarts. And, I have the same product kind of thing. And it's great to be, we've seen a lot of that support come through COVID as well. So as a small business owner, entrepreneur, each one of us has to embrace that. It's only going to get better for us. So, how are you going to do that? How do you get your community to know you and what you offer? And so now you got to get strategic and figure out, how do I get myself in front of the community? How am I going to market to them? What do I need to do? Is, whatever it might be, right? Do some, thinking outside the box so you become original as well. I have a client that I was looking for an idea, and I came up with this I thought it was a neat idea that I hadn't seen played before. And so she's going to test it out. And it's just look at what everyone's doing and going, okay, how do I do it differently? So I'm not the same as everybody else
Yeah.
as a small
Right.
business owner, right? How do I stand out? How do I get the people in my community to know me and support me? And you got to pivot. You have to pivot. I listened to a very awesome interview with Kevin O'Leary. One of the best interviews I have ever seen from a business standpoint. It's
Oh,
on the Facebook for business page. If you go visit that page, you'll see it there. I think you can find it under the video tab. It was phenomenal. But one of the things that he talked about, he did say it too. We all know we're going to go into a second wave of this, right? Possibly in 3 waves, right? So he said, we all have to look at exactly what happened, what businesses and services were required, what were people lacking that they needed, and you need to develop a business that answers those questions. And you need to get it up and running ASAP before we go in second wave, right? If you don't have it up and running before second wave, someone else is going to steal the thunder, right?
right.
So go back and say, where were the sore spots? Where were people really hurting? What was it that they needed in their homes to do what they needed to do, whatever it might be, and come up with that idea. He also talked about the fact that we need to have a secondary income. This was a perfect example of that. There's nothing wrong with dabbling in a second business that you keep, in the background, but and it has to be an online business. So I'm going to say direct sales or MLM. They're probably the best ones, especially if you can get into
Yeah.
a food one, like Epicure. Epicure had one of their biggest selling months in all of history during COVID. So, look for companies that
Right.
meet the needs of what we need, and start building something in the background so that when this happens again, and you're not going to have income from your brick and mortar, you now have another business that can help carry you, right? I saw restaurants pivot and do online grocery stores using their own restaurant suppliers, right? Nobody else was
Right.
using them, right? So they're
Yeah.
pivoting and launching online grocery stores. Fantastic way to pivot, right? And then there's
Uh, for
another business.
sure.
Yeah, there's another business. It'll be launched. The announcement's coming out on Saturday. Um, and she is pivoting and launching a second business as well. And you know what? I think it's great what she's doing. But again, she happens to be a brick and mortar, and she was shut down. She was not an essential service. So obviously
Right.
it impacted her. So now she's
Yeah.
like, I have to pivot. I have to have a secondary income behind this, because she knows that when we go in second wave, she's shut down again. She will not,
Yeah.
she's just not an essential service. So if you do get a minute, it's not a very long video. It was pretty decent, but go check out this interview with Kevin O'Leary. It was so fantastic. So fantastic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. For sure I will. And yeah, I was just going to say, as you were saying about the online pivoting to do online groceries, when probably end of March, beginning of April, whatever, when it was really, everything was shut down and the lines were crazy at the grocery store. And because we previously were using Grocery Gateway, I had grocery delivery coming. And when everything was shut down like that, I couldn't even get in there. Their schedule online was 1 month long, and there were no spots. No spots at all. And at Loblaws, I used to do the click and collect thing. No spots again for 3 weeks. And I
Yep.
wasn't going to book something 3 weeks out because I didn't know. Although, I mean, you'd know your staples and whatever.
Yeah.
But
We just set up
yeah,
2 accounts. We did 2 accounts. And as soon as we would do the one order, it was a 2-week waiting period. As soon as that order was put in the system, we then logged into our second account and booked the next one. So we were doing every week at that point.
I think it was better for you guys out of the city, like
Yes, it would be. Yeah. If you
outside of
guys were,
Toronto.
yeah,
I
right.
think Toronto was just really bad.
Oh,
Like
I can't
there
even
was
imagine.
no, even when I went to do curbside pickup for Home Depot,
Yeah.
they like that business is not designed for curbside pickup.
Right.
They had no clue, obviously. And first of all, there was a line of, I don't know, 40 cars or something. And I basically waited an hour till somebody came and brought me whatever. And
Wow.
I did hear from some other people talking about Home Depot outside of the city, and they were much better. Or
Yeah.
they went to their local hardware store and could get
Yes.
stuff
Yeah.
much easier too. So again, the Home Depot, it was the same thing at Canadian Tire. All the big corporations that were doing curbside pickup, their model doesn't operate that way. So
What?
they couldn't, and that's not how they're designed to operate.
Well, and I'm sure too, like, there's got to be other services out there, and if not, jump on it. But
Yeah,
delivery style services, not the skip the dishes Uber Eats, not those. Those are catered towards restaurants and stuff. But one that would do your grocery pickup, one that might do your Home Depot pickup, whatever it is, right? Anywhere that you need to go, so you don't have to go out and deal with it, right? Someone could launch that. Launch it, guys.
I know.
Right? There you
Yeah,
go.
no, I
Someone
know
launch a
there's
delivery service within your area. Because, right, the small communities especially probably don't have a delivery service, right? And then you can outsource it, hire someone to do it for you as the business owner itself, right? You maintain it, but hire a driver who's just going to go all day in a cube van doing deliveries, you know what I mean? Or pickups and deliveries and stuff. So, look at that, because it doesn't exist in the smaller communities, especially.
yeah, right. I did see some people post on, I think it's a Nextdoor app that was out there, and just saying that they're offering their services for the seniors
Yeah,
and
right?
people with immune issues that shouldn't, that weren't leaving the
Yep.
home. So definitely you're right. That
right?
the whole delivery side of things
Even just running and picking
is
up
just blowing
prescriptions.
up.
Oh yeah. Like I'll be honest, I stayed in as much as I could those first 3 months, right? Like it's very rare that if I went out, it was with my camera into the woods somewhere. We did curbside pickup as much as we could, but I never went and did it. I didn't do the pickups. So I know for me, that would have been a valuable service to be able to contact a delivery service and give them my list. And, and you have to book in advance, but I'd say, okay, and give them my list. So maybe Thursday is the day that they're going to go pick up my pills. Then they're going to go pick up my groceries. Oh, you know what? I need you to run into the dollar store and get me that, whatever. Right. I don't know. But why not? I would take it. I don't, and that's just because I didn't want to go out in public.
Right.
Right? So
Yeah.
yeah. So I think I think that's just what we really have to do. We have to go, what is missing? What needs to happen? Even if we don't go in lockdown again, those services are going to be needed because for the next 2 years, we have fear. We have fear. We're going to have fear until we know this is gone. So there's going to be people who are not going to leave their house still. Even in
Right.
stage 3, they're not going out. So yeah. So I
Yeah,
think,
right, exactly.
right?
There's people who said that they're not, even people I know won't go to a patio
Yeah.
right now. So,
Right? So
yeah,
I think we just my message to everyone is that you truly have an opportunity here to change who you are and how you live, but also to pivot and find something that is needed now and build a new business from it. So embrace that. Take the positive out of all of this,
hmm
right? Look
right,
at everything. Just eliminate the negative and just relook at things and going, you know what? I forgot. Yeah, I changed this and didn't realize I had changed it, right? Or, now that I don't have to do this, I feel a lot better, and then figure out what things that you did miss and go, am I okay going to the gym, right? If I want to work out, am I okay going to the gym? Now, I can tell you, I wouldn't be comfortable going to a gym at all, right? Their hands are on everything and
yeah,
sweaty
exactly.
and stuff,
Well, yeah,
right?
exactly. I actually had an interview of somebody who owned a brick and mortar gym, and he had celebrated his 5th anniversary, and just prior or just right when COVID started, the shutdown, and he went through a certain process of, deciding what he was going to do because he was at the end of his 5-year lease as well, and he decided just to shut down because he said even when gyms open, the requirements for cleaning and the number of people and everything like that, he just decided that, people are realizing that they don't have to go to a gym. You can do it from home. And he's gone into the online space for the personal training side of things.
Well, and if you have a big enough backyard, bring your weights and stuff to your backyard and do some classes there. Have a small
True.
group, 5 or 6 people that come and do some workouts with you and charge for it, right? If you've
Yeah.
got the space outside, so it's now people will feel a lot safer. A lot of people like to work out with others. They need that kind of a motivation.
Right. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
don't have to, and online, I get it, but at the same time, online can feel lonely, especially when you're
Yep.
working out, right? No one's really watching you, right? So, you know what? If you have the space outside or organize it in a park, go find an area that's outdoors and
Yeah.
hold, morning classes, right?
Right.
It was funny. I put a thing out on social media asking the question about movie theaters. I can't believe they have these massive parking lots, and I can't believe none of them have converted their parking lots into drive-in theaters. They can run everything off of Bluetooth, and then they could have people on roller skates bringing them stuff from the concession. I'm like, why haven't you turned your parking lots into drive-in theaters? And, because you're making nothing right now. So,
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
right? So I think of things like that. I'm like, why not? Everybody feels comfortable if they're outside. So what can you do that brings everybody outside? Right? People still want to be around people. They don't
Yeah.
want to do it all online. So how can you bring people together and keep them safe and yet accomplish something from it?
Right.
So
Yeah.
just start thinking outside the box.
That's what it is. Exactly. Thinking outside of the box and questioning everything. It's
Absolutely.
really going back to when you were a kid and you questioned everything.
Right? Yes.
just don't accept the fact that, you know, things have to be a certain way because that maybe that's how they used to be, but everything is shut down and can all be recreated new now.
Life was just
Everything.
handed to all of us with open hands,
Yeah.
saying, here's your opportunity to make any changes you want to make. Here's your opportunity to move forward with something new. Here's an opportunity to just embrace happiness and figure it out. Here's an opportunity to stop being judged by society, because I can tell you now, that's going to change even. Now that we're going into an online world, I think we're going to see a lot of judgment online. But what I think is going to happen is it's not going to be so easy when you don't see people in person so much, like the bullying and stuff. I think I'd like to believe that that's going to change as people start really looking at themselves. And like even my daughter, I've noticed and some of the different stuff she's putting out through her Snapchat, because she shows me different things. And just her alone talking about, you know what, this is my body now. Because she's gone through a transition with her body for some reason in the last 6 months, which is strange at the age of 21. However, she's gone through this change, like from top to bottom. And she's like, you know what, this is who I am now. And I'm tired of people judging us, whether, you know, how big my hips are, or my ass is, or what size tummy I have.
Right.
She's like, you know, this is who I am, and I'm good with who I am. And so I'm hoping that more of kids in her generation are starting to realize that and embrace who they are, and stop worrying so much about being what society tells us we have to be, right? We don't have to do what society tells us.
No, not
No.
not anymore, and not
No.
anymore. That's for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was great talking to you, Tammy.
That was awesome.
I think that definitely some great opportunities and great ideas for people. And going back to that delivery service, you know, I think that a lot of people are embracing really understanding how much, really valuing their time a lot more than before, and realizing that they don't want to waste time, and to have a delivery service instead of you running from store to store to store. Yeah. I know, like even myself, I have no desire whatsoever to go to the mall.
No. Oh God, no.
No desire to go shopping at any stores or anything like that. So
I couldn't even imagine if I had to go to Winners to shop. I'm thinking, I'm not going through those racks. Oh my God. Like, right? So no, I have no desire. I'll order my clothes online. I don't need to go to the store to get clothes. Sorry, but not happening.
Exactly. So I think that whole side of things is where we're going to see a huge shift as well, which we've already seen. And it's just a matter of being innovative.
Oh yeah.
Because you have to have clothes.
You have to.
Have clothes.
Someone has to bring the clothes to me so I can try them on. All right, guys, start thinking of that service. Who's providing that service, right? Who's going to give me a personal, you know, these are based on my budgets, whatever it might be, right? Someone invent that service. I know we have, you know, where you can hire like Carrie Ann, right? And she'll take you shopping.
Yeah.
But now we want it. No, you need to bring the clothes to me, right?
Right.
I need a nice open space where you and I have enough distance, but I can try the things on. Because I can tell you, you know, it's not so easy to shop online for clothing, right?
Well, no,
so,
right.
Yeah, so there's another service that people are looking for. Help me dress in my home without me having to go out and do it, because I don't feel safe out there, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So, yeah.
All right. Yeah. Okay. So many ideas for people. So much opportunity and innovation to be had, really. So yeah. All right. So thank you so much, Tammy, for
having me.
This time. I will put your information up underneath for those people who are interested in the social media side of things, because like you say, you have to be out there, and it's a busy world online. It's a busy space, so you really have to find a way to stand out.
Absolutely. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.